She's famous. Tori Piskin, new album coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, there it is. Promotion. 3 downloads. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's Driving with Dave, so excited to have host of the Got It From My Mama podcast, and also has an album that is probably out when this airs. It's Tori Piskin. How are you?
Hi. Oh my God, I think this is my childhood fantasy.
Being in my Tesla? A car that wasn't invented? Oh.
The cameras, I feel like I'm in the Truman Show.
You are. You are in the low production quality version of the Truman Show.
Which I have a joke about it, but basically I say that when I watched the movie The Truman Show, I truly believed that my life was a sitcom.
Is that the self-centeredness of stand-up comedy?
Yes.
Where you think do you think you're being filmed like when you're not?
Not anymore, but when I was younger, I definitely did.
No, because I'm that way too, where I'll act as if I'm performing. Even they always say like adversity is how you act when no one's watching, and I'm like, I perform when no one's watching in the hopes that somebody is.
I'll do that mostly at doctor's office, like because I'm not a narcissist. I have a hypochondriac, but then also so I like go there and then I put on this like show, but I don't mean to. It's just like I'm like fucking nuts. I'll never forget. One time I went to a dermatologist. It was like a yearly checkup for pale skin to see if I had any like, bad freckles or whatever. And I just hooked up with this, when I was single, guy. And I have very fair skin. And I guess he like slapped my ass and it left this like huge bruise. And I don't know why I just didn't cancel the dermatologist appointment. I didn't think she'd be looking at my ass. You know what I mean?
So she thinks you've got skin cancer, but you just had a rough night.
No, I'll never forget. I'm laying on the table. I'm like, okay, she's not going to flip me over and look at my ass. And she was like, flip over. And I was like,
oh no.
Oh shit. And she flipped over. And then she like did that like pediatrician look where it was like really quick in the underwear. And then I go to her, oh my God, last night I was slapped. No, it's fine. I agreed to it. I liked it. It was with a guy. I don't think it's going to be anything serious. And she was like, okay.
I love that she looked quickly. It's like, no, I paid for this. Can you look extensively at my ass slap? Yeah, you've got, pale skin, things, is this hickeys? Things last longer on pale skin. And you've got, my family's Irish, so they've got the whole, moles need to get checked out.
Now I'm looking at my...
What's your ethnicity here? Because you're Jewish from New York City.
Just Jewish.
Just Jewish.
My full ethnicity.
That's it.
I used to tell people I was Irish because I thought it was such a cooler thing to say than Jewish. And one
Until you moved to Hollywood and you're like, okay, we're Jewish.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, wait, sorry. What I said was wrong. But growing up, I grew up in New York City, and there was one time this person in my building, I was waiting for the elevator with my mom, and this guy was like, oh, what's your background? And I must have been 13, and I was like, oh, I'm Irish. And my mom turns to him and she goes, no, you're not. You're a Russian Polish Jew, just like the rest of us. I was like, all right, jealous bitch.
Yeah, you want to be, and when you're growing up, you just want to be the cool thing. But you clearly stand out. Clearly, your TikTok thing, you're funny and all that. But my wife knew who you were because you're big. You have the voluminous hair.
Yes.
That's a look.
Look good today.
Is this the type of thing that you embrace now? But was this a self-conscious thing before?
Oh yeah, people. So in 8th grade, growing up in the mid 2000s, the look was all like long straight hair.
Yeah.
Okay, and my hair was even more like thick back then. So I got Japanese straightening. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like permanent straightening your hair.
Okay.
Besides the roots. So I would go to do this thing, but it was just started to get really bad for my hair. So I eventually chopped all the straight part off. So at this point I had curly hair up to here.
Oh no.
And when I went to high school, the first day of high school, I had this like old woman bob like right here, and everyone started calling me pubic head.
Oh no. Of all the things, pubic head.
Bird's nest. So yeah, I definitely a few years that was a hard year. But then when it started to grow and I started to know like what to do with my hair, obviously I'm like, it's like part of my diversity check. I
Absolutely.
feel like,
It's you. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And with stand-up comedy, it's kind of like finding your uniqueness on a stage where everyone's going to complain about dating is hard and this and that. But like, how do you stand out is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I feel like, actually yesterday I was in Palm Springs and this like old man, when you're a redhead, I think this happens, or maybe, I don't know, like people with tattoos, people will just like come up to me and like stare at me for like they'll just stare.
It's
and then
something.
I don't know what to do. And then they'll like make some comment. Like last night, the guy stared at me and then was like, "Pale redhead? My daughter is a pale redhead." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. What am I saying? Is she also a slut? Like, what am I supposed to say?" But yeah, I feel like people that like have maybe a child that's a redhead, or they themselves are a redhead, it's like this weird nod. It's like, you know, when you have like a designer dog, like a sheepadoodle, like a golden doodle, you give that person like a weird nod. It's like that.
Is it a strong gene in your family? Your mom, siblings?
My mom has it.
Okay.
And we're exactly alike.
Because I don't mean to, I'm curious because male redheads, some called ginger, I don't know if that's offensive or not,
No,
but male redheads, it can be brutal for them growing up. I've never heard of one woman be like, "Oh, you know what I want is that guy with a red," you know what I mean? You just...
Yeah. I mean, at one point when I was dating, I used to love redheads.
Okay.
And then I was like, I think I'm a narcissist.
Yeah, you wanted to have what you were.
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone's that way.
And then my boyfriend, when we first started dating, he has dark hair, but I noticed he had some like red beard, and I was like, oh my God.
That's me. I get red.
You do?
I get red. I got white now, but the red would come in the deeper the beard. Like even deeper. Like I can like grow into a ginger.
Yeah. No, I think that's like for me that's a hot gene, but maybe because I again see myself in the man's beard. So again, what does that say about me?
Well, I mean, I think gingers, they say, are going extinct. So if it's something that keeps your people going, I think that's a good thing. You know, no pressure, but you know.
I don't know if I'll have a redhead kid. I mean, I don't think my boyfriend has any redheads in his family. To have a redhead, you have to have two people. They have to have a gene.
Oh, okay.
So my dad's father was a redhead, and my mom was a redhead.
Interesting. So yeah, who knows? Maybe the gene's buried deep.
I mean, I hope so.
It's clearly a strong gene for the fact that it's can just like pop out of nowhere.
But definitely redheads are. I've never met a boring redhead.
Oh, there you go.
Redheads are always very. They say they're very sexual. I don't know. They say that.
If you Google redheads, you get crazy things.
Yeah, go on Reddit and just Google, are redheads more sexual than other girls? And you will read like the craziest things.
Do you think you're more sexual?
I think so. Or I think I'm more just like open-minded. So I think guys are then just put in the category of like, she was a crazy redhead.
Oh,
you know?
It's almost like a confirmation bias. Like, because you have red hair, they're kind of going to look into that to whatever... you know, if you shit your pants during sex, oh, redheads shit their pants. It's like, no, I just had a bad night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I want to get to a few things. Okay. I want to talk about Jewish camp.
Oh, Jewish camp.
Because I'm very jealous because I went to day camp.
Okay.
I went to poor kids camp, and I heard you were at the stay away camp, which sounds amazing. And I want to talk about that, and I want to know when you first felt hot. When did you first feel like, oh my gosh, I've got it going on? Was it not when they were calling you pubic head, or like when did you grow into that? And then we'll work backwards to Jewish camp.
Okay, I think I first felt hot. Really, it wasn't until college when I was like 20 years old. It took like a while. I don't know. I think that's a good thing because then when you're 30, you're like, oh, like now I finally feel like a hot 21-year-old. But when I was 20, I remember just like going to a nightclub in New York. And at the time, the best nightclub was called the Jane Hotel. Are you familiar with this?
I heard of it, yeah.
Okay, so it was very cool back then. And I got in with a fake ID. And I remember just like guys hitting on me. And I wore this dress. And it reminded me of like Sarah Jessica Parker. It was like kind of flowy, but like tight. Mm-hmm. And I remember this like hot Australian guy was hitting on me. And and he was really obsessed with my hair. And that was the first time I was like, oh, this is like a good thing.
Yeah, you're like, I got it.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
So 20 years old.
20 years old, yeah.
That sounds about right when people are like post-pubescent, but still trying to figure out how to work their thing.
And I think also like when you're 20, you kind of find your people. Because I think before that, when I was at college, I mean, when I was 20, I was at college, but like early on in college, I was trying to hang out with like these blonde, basic girls, and I would like talk to all their boyfriends' friends, and they thought I was like so fucking weird. Because I would just say like the most inappropriate things that I thought was like really funny, and it wasn't. Yeah. Like one guy was like, where do you live? And he was like flirting with me, and I just responded with, why? You want to stalk me? And then he turned to my friend and he was like, your friend's, can you curse on here?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, your friend's fucking weird.
Well, but weirdness is something I think a lot of people are envious that they can't do. Like your parents, a lot of times parents are trying to, like, I don't know, make you behave and this and that. Is your family funny?
Yeah. So my mom is a fitness instructor. And she always used to do these like group fitness classes where she would just have like people over our house and be like screaming, and she's like Jewish and from Long Island, so she'd be like, come on girls, let's do it. And she would always like incorporate their lives into the workouts.
Okay.
So she'd be like, Susan, I heard you had a date last night, he didn't text you back. Fuck him, Susan. And then my dad is a dentist, but he makes sometimes like very inappropriate comments. My dad has never been a dad where he's like, don't wear that. My dad has always been like, ooh, show off those legs. Like, I have a very strange relationship.
That sounds so healthy.
Yeah, it's very healthy.
Or like body positivity, making you feel weird as you're growing and, all of that.
No, yeah, one time my dad like helped me get ready for a school dance and he was like, show off those legs. You got your mother's legs. I was like, oh my God, this is so weird.
He sounds like an old-timey, come on, Dame, you got it in you.
Yeah, he does.
So, because Jewish people generally have great senses of humor.
Right.
Generally speaking. A lot of great comedians were Jewish, and a lot of comedy comes from complaining, and the Jewish stereotype is complaining, but I don't think it's really... I think it's the idea of, you just can like read what's wrong in the room. Oh, it's cold in here. The service is slow. Like, that's not a bad thing.
It's funny. So my boyfriend, he's not Jewish. And he said when he first started dating me, it took him a long time to realize that I'm actually not complaining. I'm just talking. Yeah. Just how he's like, I never realized that Jewish, because he's never dated a Jewish girl before me. And he says, you make noises that are only accustomed to a Jewish girl that grew up in New York. Because I'll be like, yeah. I'm just always making like...
My wife does that. Yeah, their vocal exhaust, it's an exhaust thing.
Yeah.
So she'll, and I'm like, honey, what's wrong? What are you talking about? I just breathe. I'm like, you breathe angrily.
Yeah. He said he like really had to get accustomed to it because he'd be like, but I just thought you were going about your day like miserable. I didn't realize it was like part of the way you like vocalized.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's healthy, I think.
Right.
By the way, how's this view? Should we get some houses over here? This is like, we're on Mulholland Drive, I believe.
So here's the thing. I'm actually not like a huge hill person, whatever. No,
by the way,
I'm more of a flat person.
That's the Jewish humor I was talking about. Here we are, $20 million homes. I don't really like a hill. What are we looking at? The sun's too strong, that you're going to have a mudslide. We don't really need a hill.
My boyfriend was like trying to get, so my parents came to visit. And at this point, they had met my boyfriend a few times, and they really like him, and he's showing us this tour in the hills, and the three of us are like, oh God, I feel nauseous. And my dad's like, he's like, this isn't worth the money. He's like, what are you looking out into? The grass? And my boyfriend is like from LA, he's a beach guy, and he's like, well, one day I'd love to, dream to live up in the hills. And my mom's like, Tori wouldn't like it here. She doesn't like heights. No, this is not gonna be good for her.
Hold on,
And now we have a TMZ bus. Hi.
She's famous. Tori Piskin. New album coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, there it is. Promotion. 3 downloads.
I feel like if you said, Merida from Brave is in the car, more people would be like, oh my God, I love that Disney movie.
I don't know if that crowd was going to be a Disney crowd, but maybe. Oh, the Runyon Canyon. We're at the back of Runyon Canyon. All right, there it is. All right, so I was told you had a thing for skater guys. Is this true?
Uh-oh.
Do you have a skater pass?
I used to have a skater pass.
What's that all about?
What's a skater boy pass? I mean, I used to date this guy.
Avril Lavigne type of...
Actually, that was one of my first YouTube videos.
I could see you being into Avril Lavigne. You got the same body type size, right?
Do we?
I mean, she's like a compact...
Yeah, she's like a girl that could is she 30 or a teenager?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's where you want to be.
That's the body type
But what did you do, an impression of her?
So yeah, YouTube, after school, I would just do impressions of the music videos and I would edit it on iMovie. And I thought I was really fancy because I made the video in black and white. And I just was like goth. And then my mom would come in and she'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making a video. In my head, I really thought I was going to be like a YouTuber. I think I got like 20 views or something.
There you go. Hey, that's something. Now, you're big on Instagram and TikTok, so much so that and trust me, my wife doesn't just follow anybody. But
wow.
She already knew your content out here. And I saw the TikTok that I just watched was you complaining about being in the loser cabin at camp.
Yeah.
So I want to know, does everybody go to these stay away camps? Tell me about the vibe, because like I said, I was a day camp loser, so I didn't get any of this experience. I've only seen it in Hollywood.
I don't know if it's an East Coast thing, but
I'm Rhode Island. I'm East Coast.
Oh.
And we didn't have it there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You didn't go to some
I
sleepaway
literally
camp.
would go, like, someone send me to camp now. Like, I want to show that we get to do camp.
Yeah, there actually are, like, adult summer camps you could go to.
Yeah, they're all, like, single-based, though.
Yeah.
They feel real creepy.
Yeah, it'd be very strange if you were like, hey, I'm here. And you're like, but I'm married. They're like, why the fuck are you here?
Here's what I know about summer camp. Everyone's, like, making out with everybody.
Yes, but
That's what I see from Hollywood.
Okay, so when I went to summer camp, sleepaway camp for the first time, I was 10 years old, and I like really wanted to be a Jewish American princess.
Right.
Short for Jap, but you have to say Jewish American princess.
Exactly.
And I went to this camp that was really known to have a lot of Jewish American princesses, okay? I didn't go to like a very Jewish school in Manhattan. I have dyslexia, so I kind of went to a weirder school, okay? So when I got to this camp, I just was like, oh my God, I'm finally gonna be like friends with the cool Jewish girls. But I didn't realize they didn't like me because I didn't have like a Prada bag, a Juicy Couture sweatsuit. Again, we're talking like 10 years old, okay?
Juicy was big. Juicy was a big jumpsuit you needed to have.
Like my mom sent me to the camp with, I don't know if like remember those Gap sweatshirts that just said Gap.
Yeah, fleece. You can't destroy those.
No, and so they were always like looking at me. And so when I started, I've been writing these like personal essays basically, and I started writing this essay about summer camp, and I realized, I was like, I was at the loser cabin because none of us had designer stuff. We were like, none of us really had boyfriends either. We were always, I don't know, like getting picked on by the popular girls. It was a very strange time. And I remember I did once have one guy almost interested in me. His name was Herbert.
Okay, strong man. Almost interested.
Almost.
He was on the fence.
I swear to God, he really was on the fence. Do you know how sad it is to be 10 years old and a guy with braces named Herbert to be on the fence to hook up with you?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how horrible my 10-year-old self felt?
Let's get Herbert on the line and see if he's still on the fence.
I know, wherever the hell this Herbert is.
So he was on the fence.
He was on the fence because I remember I was in the infirmary and my friend was trying to like set me up with him. Even at age 10, like Jews are always trying to help other Jews set people up.
Of course.
And her name was Jenny, and she's like, I have this guy who's like really interested in you, and I think you guys would get along great. But yeah, I was like in the infirmary because I was sick, another very important Jewish quality. And I remember him like looking through the window, and I remember him being like, hi. He just said hi to me, and then he was like, sorry we couldn't kiss. And then that was it.
There you go. So cock blocked by your own immune system, it sounds like. Yeah, maybe he just was also a little worried about, catching a disease or something.
Yeah, and you know when you're like a kid and you have like the snot just rolling down your nose?
Yeah.
He had that, and he wasn't even the one in the infirmary.
Listen, I can tell you all of the crushes I had by name.
Really?
Allie, Casey, all of them. And I remember in third grade when I first, also the same year I saw my teacher's thong for the first time, and I was like...
That's a huge moment in a child's life.
Yeah, I was
teacher's thong?
Big time. And it was like a student teacher. So in hindsight,
she
was probably like 19.
Yeah.
But to me, is that left here? To me, it was like she was... 35 years old, because I'm in third grade. And she bends over to do something, I don't know, and she had like a black pencil skirt on. I remember everything about this. And I don't remember what I had for lunch today, but I remember this. She had a black pencil skirt on, and when you bend over with certain like outfits, it kind of like stretches it, and then you can see through. And I was like, what the heck? I didn't know what a thong was.
Right.
My mom didn't have any thongs that I knew of. I'd never seen a thong before. I seen granny panties and briefs. And I was like, I'm into that. whatever that is. Just whatever. I was just like, I had this crush on this lady. But then I ended up, I remember all my crushes, and I was so bad at talking to women.
Yeah, it was
like,
hard.
you just like, you don't know what to do, but you just want their attention. And
But let me tell you, these girls in the popular Jewish summer cabin, not the loser cabin I was in, they I swear to God, they all had boyfriends. I remember they all had really big boobs already. Huge boobs.
At 10?
I swear to God. No,
or just a few
11.
Years okay.
11. 10 to 11.
I mean, that's when, there's hormones in the beef, I guess. I don't know.
They were just they were actually very pretty. And then for years afterwards, I would stalk them on social media, on Facebook. I would be and they were still very pretty, and they were all from these very rich areas in Long Island. But my camp, it was very expensive, because I remember my mom being call your grandpa, he paid for it. So that's,
what is this, 30 grand a summer? I mean, it sounds like,
must have been, I think it was 6,000.
Okay, but that's still, yeah.
I mean, also for back then, this is 2003.
Yeah.
But our camp wasn't even the most expensive. There was this other camp that had AC in the cabins. They had a maid come once a week.
By the way, I couldn't afford this house right here.
This house is just under construction.
I bet you that's $1 million piece of shit. Yeah, but so what do you do? Are you doing archery? Are you what's going on at these camps?
And that's the weirdest part. It was a sports camp, and I'm we're Jewish people. We're not known for being good at sports. But the sports were, when I started to think about it, they were all kind of sports you would one day need if you want to marry into a good Jewish family.
Oh, so we're talking
tennis, golf,
archery,
swimming.
Okay.
So yeah. I started to realize that, and I was I said tennis, but I was bad at all of them. That's probably why I'm not dating a Jewish guy, because I just. Does
that upset your mom that your boyfriend's not Jewish?
No, she doesn't care.
She doesn't care?
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. It's kind of like Catholicism, where, I mean, it's obviously different, but I was raised Catholic, which is as much a culture to some people as it is a religion.
Right.
You don't even have to go to church to identify with the Catholic upbringing. It's just kind of ingrained in you. Obviously not to the level that, Jewish culture is. But I think a lot of New England comics were raised Catholic because that's all that we had in New England.
Right.
And when I moved to New York, it's all Jewish New Yorkers, which I find to be very pleasant people. They just tell you how it is.
Yeah, we just tell you how it is.
And they're very funny.
That's what my boyfriend always says, because on our first date, he said, I don't even remember this, he was like, you were just so strong, and I loved it, because he said, he was like, oh, what bars, because he used to live in New York too, and he was like, oh, what bars did you go to in New York, and which ones do you like in LA? And I turned to him and I go, listen, we could do the whole LA versus New York thing if you want.
You went to date 4, you're like, well, let's just cut through the shit.
Yeah, and he was like, that's when I knew I liked you. You were just so honest.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's refreshing for, people to just tell you how they feel.
But then he doesn't like when I'm like, oh my God, you have a pimple on your face. What are you doing with your hair? I'm like, well, you can't have both ways.
I didn't realize a lot of flaws I had until I started dating my wife. I didn't know my toenails were sharp. These are just things that you don't have. Your toenails are sharp. It's like, what? I didn't know that was a thing that they could be. Turns out she was right. But yeah, relationships are good at kind of holding the mirror up to each other.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything toxic about yourself that you're working on?
See, the thing is...
Or are you just are you ready to go perfect?
I'm not really a horoscope girl. But I am a Taurus, and I do think
Hey, Taurus.
You are?
Yeah, May 1st.
Oh, May 20th.
There you go.
See? Do you think you're stubborn?
You're right on the edge.
Yeah, I'm on the edge.
Stubborn, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm always right.
Oh, okay.
I know how I want things done, and that's why I'm stubborn. If things aren't being done the way I've already learned is the right way, then I'm like, what are we doing here? I
am very stubborn, so when you say, do I have any toxic traits? I mean... I think inside I do. I'll never forget, this is a very bad toxic trait. My high school boyfriend, he what did he do? He wanted to leave my house because he was allergic to my cat, and I really didn't want him to go. So I stuck my hand against the door to try not to get him to leave. And they grabbed my hand, and then I was like, you're hurting me. You're abusing me. And I'm like, you can never say that now.
Yeah.
But and then I would tell people at school. Because I thought it was funny. I remember telling people, and he's like, you have to stop telling people that. And then, I had some bruise on my leg from, falling, and I was like, this is what happened. And he was like, you have to stop.
Just like getting slapped in the ass here.
Yeah.
It seems like, people need to sign a waiver when they date you.
I do think my toxic trait is that a lot of the things, well, one, I have no boundaries, which I had to learn with my boyfriend, because he would be like, please don't talk about this on your podcast. And then I'd be like, okay, I won't. And then I would just do it.
Right.
Because that's what my mom does.
Yeah.
You learn from your parents.
It's hard to not understand that everyone else isn't an open book. Like
right.
we use our stand-up as sort of like a thing to talk about, and we talked about some things off air that we can't talk about on air. And it's like we want to be able to talk about everything, and I come from that same thing, right? There's nothing off limits for me, but I've had to realize, all right, I'm representing other people now. My wife, I need to be sure that they're okay with what I talk about.
No, okay, what's off limits with my boyfriend that we're slowly trying to work on is he doesn't like to talk about bathroom stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, I'm not really like a gross girl. I'm not someone who likes to I don't really talk about farting or shitting, but my past relationships, I have said, oh, I need to use the bathroom, and then the guy would be like, oh, do you have to poop? And I'm like, oh my God, stop. So I have had open dialogue.
I'm like your boyfriend, where that took me a while to have conversations. I didn't want people to know, my girlfriend.
So when I would bring it up, like when maybe a year in, when we started like going away together and stuff, I would say, like, you can just say you need to use the bathroom to poop. He's like, no, I don't. Please stop. I can't talk about bathroom stuff. I don't. And then I, again, started thinking about the future. And I was like, so you're saying if we get married for the rest of my life, I'm not going to tell you if I need to use the bathroom? What if I'm pregnant? What if I'm pregnant and I deliver a baby and I'm shitting? Are you not going to be there for me? But then what I love about my boyfriend, he's so willing to, like, change. He's not stubborn at all, which is why it works. He's so willing to change. So, like, then after that conversation, oh, look at these people. Do you want to hear about our shit talk?
Day drinking.
Yeah.
With some margaritas, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Hello.
They're cute.
But then my boyfriend, he decided to start talking about poop. But he's never talked about poop or farting. So then when he started to, it became so unnatural. Like, he came into the hotel room and he goes, smells like eggs. Did you fart eggs in here?
You're like, all right, tone it down there.
I was like, and he's usually so funny and so smart, so it was just very funny to, like, see him try to do this thing.
Oh, that's his way of, like, that's his way of clowning, it sounds like.
No, he was really trying to, like, be, like, open about the poop talk.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget another thing when we first started dating, or when we first started, right before we moved in together, when he would use the bathroom to poop, he would do this thing where he would close the door. Okay, I knew what was close the door after he used it. So he didn't want it to smell.
Yeah.
So that was one tactic. And again, I didn't want to make him uncomfortable, so I didn't say anything. Then the other thing he would do is he would take a fan, okay? Again, still, he would never tell me, oh, sorry, it smells. Just never say anything, which is worse. He would have a fan be pointed into the bathroom.
So he's just got a whole production happening.
And again, I can't say anything.
But that's the male, I don't know, just like stoicism or something. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I know when I got engaged, we were in Thailand, and the bedroom and the bathroom had a wall separating the two that went about 7 feet high, and then it was open air. We were in like a villa, so the wall didn't even protect from. And we're in Thailand, new foods.
Yeah, new foods.
And then because
see, again, even that, my boyfriend would say, like, I think another guy would be like, oh, I was shitting, I had diarrhea, but you're like, it was new food.
New foods, yeah. There were some issues going on. I call it punching cloth when you have to go to the bathroom. I was punching cloth. And in the toilets, you couldn't flush the toilet paper because we were on some island with delicate plumbing. So I'm like, I'd rather go shit in the hot tub than deal with this bullshit in here.
Every day,
the romantic day of my life. Yeah.
Every day you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go check our reservation for dinner. She's like, it's been a fucking hour. What is he doing?
Yeah, and it took a little while. I mean, I did most of my dating in the New York City area where there are no bathrooms for anybody.
Right.
And you got to have conversations when that comes out.
So now you talk openly about it.
We're pretty open.
Pretty.
Did you light a candle? We're pretty open.
Yeah.
In there, but I still, like, she farted in her sleep, and it was so funny because she'll, like, never admit to that actually happening.
Yeah, I would never admit either.
But then I, like, tried to do something funny the other day, like a funny jump, and as I was like preparing to do this jump, like I was going to jump onto the bed, I farted.
It was air.
And she just died laughing. It's almost like a vulnerability to be like, you didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
So that's funnier. It's almost like on stage when you're joke bombs and you get a laugh because that wasn't what your intention was.
Right.
Do me a favor. Can you hit the top of the top button there?
This one?
Yeah, just hit that again. That needs to reset. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, good. We're back. We're rolling. So you're in stand-up. How do you go from making black and white YouTube videos to being in the loser cabin, no offense, to getting on stage for the first time? At what point did you realize that there was an outlet for this sort of personality?
So the first time I went to an open mic just to check it out, so I grew up in New York City, and New York Comedy Club was like 4 blocks away from my high school. And my theater teacher was always like, you should really try like comedy. She said, you should really explore it. That's the theater teacher, explore comedy. So I looked online and said, New York Comedy Club is having an open mic at 4 p.m. Now, as a comic of almost like 8-9 years, I know a 4 p.m. mic is like the worst mic to go to.
Yes.
Especially, I don't know about LA and New York, but so I went, and this was like before New York Comedy Club redid it, so it was like really like old and run down. And I go there with my friend, and I sit in the audience of the open mic, and everyone just kept going up, and they were so strange. There was like a mother there who had her child, and the child was under the table, and the whole environment was just so fucking weird. But I remember just having this feeling of like, oh my God, like this is what I want to do. And then in college, I did a lot of storytelling stuff in Boston because I was too nervous to do stand-up.
Emerson?
Yeah, first I went to SCAD in Savannah, Georgia, and then I went to Emerson. So when I got to Emerson, I was doing a lot of, like, it was a ripoff of Moth. It was called Mass Mouth. And it was just, but more people were going up and doing, like, folk stories, and I would just go and be like, oh my God, so my Jewish mom in New York, like, she did this crazy thing. So I was doing stand-up, but I didn't really, like, know it was stand-up.
You're doing, like, impressions. Almost.
Impressions,
yeah, characters.
Stories. And then after college, I actually got like really sick with Lyme disease, and I started making these YouTube videos about having Lyme disease, just like vlogs basically. And then I kind of that's kind of like where I started all my video stuff, because I was like learned how to like edit. And then once I got better from that at like 24, that's when I started going really hard with stand-up.
Oh, good. I didn't realize. I know you had an autoimmune disease. I didn't know it was Lyme disease. That's what my wife has.
She has it?
Yeah, and she's doing better. But she spent for the last 5 or 6 years on a whole cocktail of medications. And
oh, wow.
Different things.
Me and your wife need to hang out.
I know, seriously.
We have a lot. Is she me? Am I her?
Might be. You guys might be this. You guys might be related in some Lyme disease way.
Yeah.
Maybe you got bit by the same tick. I don't know. It's some weird superhero movie.
I always say the tick when he heard me, probably heard me, because I always like. I used to say like, oh, I talk so much now, and one of the symptoms I still have with Lyme is I get really fatigued, and I'm like, so imagine me before the Lyme, how much I used to talk and be energized, and I was like, when the tick bit me, he probably just was like, can you shut up for 1 second? Yeah,
it's wild. It's so wild that people think Lyme is not real because the medical community doesn't address it right, because they don't know how to fix it. So I had just a side note, I had Brian Abasolo on the show here a couple weeks ago, and we talked a lot about, we talked a lot about anti-pharmaceutical stuff, just because of how bad it can be. And I talked about this antifungal I was on called terbinafine, which is for like a foot fungus, which is really, there's other ways to cure it, right? It was just for a simple issue. And I talked about how I accidentally took an over-the-counter cough medicine, and it made me completely shit my pants. It made me high as a kite for a full day. And I was telling this story, and someone left a comment and said, oh my gosh, my husband died of Parkinsonism, which is almost like Parkinson's disease. It's just as bad, but it's like a neurological disorder, and it's because of terbinafine.
Wow.
And which, I don't know if this is made by Pfizer or whoever, but these anecdotal stories. But people commented, oh my gosh, I can't believe you think that X causes Y and this and that. This is crazy. And certainly I was like, well, I got to look this up because I want to make sure I'm not spreading misinformation.
Right.
And there is a clinical study about this and about how dangerous this is, that this specific simple little medication can wreck your body to the point of literally causing Parkinsonism.
That's crazy.
Parkinsonism, which is just like Parkinson's disease.
Right.
And now I know people that have actually had to deal with it. You don't learn about these issues
until you have it.
And so the person gave me a 4-star review, and I was like, I dealt with this.
Yeah, I'm the one who was out of it for a day.
Yeah, we're so like triggered by thinking everything's anti-science, and it's not. Excuse me, cutting people off here.
I think though,
but with Lyme disease, I only say that because people still think it's some quacky thing that doesn't really exist because mainstream medicine doesn't know how to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you are in the Lyme community.
Tasha sure is, and you probably got recommended to her on TikTok because of that.
Yes.
But yeah, we've been hardcore in the community.
So Bella Hadid came out and talked about her Lyme disease struggle, and it was funny because she did it like in a very like LA Hollywood way, where she didn't even say like I had Lyme disease. She just like showed the document of her like basically being positive for Lyme and like co-infections. And she just she didn't really say like how she got better. Again, it was all like, it was like very Hollywood, LA. Like, I'm not going to tell you. I think it is really good that she came out and, I think she said that like, after 15 years of struggle, she's better now. But, even the girl, Elvis Presley's granddaughter, has Lyme disease really bad. I'm forgetting her name. But my mom was just telling me about it, and every year she goes to Switzerland to do like a 14-week treatment.
Wow.
And it's really just, people don't really understand.
You don't always get it with a bullseye after.
No, I didn't get it with a bullseye.
She didn't know for years what she had, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
She goes, I want to take the Lyme test, and it was like $600. She had to pee. I had to rush it through the mail. I'm a cold and hot pee, and like And then I'm like, okay, for $600, I'd rather her know she doesn't have it, so we can just get over it.
Right.
She had Babesia, which is a cousin to malaria. She had all the co-infections. And it can lead to sweating through the mattress and Lyme rage and anxiety and all these different things.
Yeah.
And she ended up finding a doctor in Washington, D.C. who had cured herself of Lyme disease, or I don't think you really fully cure yourself,
right? So you don't cure, you go into
remission or dormancy or whatever?
Remission. I did like more IV antibiotic 10 years ago or whenever I had it. But yeah, when I have flare-ups, I have to do all these cocktails and take all these vitamins, and I travel like a fucking holistic doctor.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's just like, it's exhausting.
She was having like droplets of different, like even stevia was good.
Yeah.
Which is like a sweetener, but it's also really good for fighting some of these things. And, it's like, there's a lot of different ways that people are trying to tackle it, but for people to dismiss it, the fact you had it 10 years ago, that's actually impressive that they were able to even know what you had.
Yeah, luckily my pediatrician tested me.
Really?
Because I was in college and I woke up one day, I had like horrible blurry vision, panic attacks, and I called my mom, and of course my Jewish mom was like, oh my God, you have a brain tumor. You got a brain tumor. She was like, Jay, like to my dad, she's like, you gotta pick her up, she's got a brain tumor. And when you're 20, you don't, or I think I was last year, 21, you don't really have like a normal, like why would I have a doctor?
Yeah.
I was fine before. So I went to my pediatrician and she tested me for Lyme and it came back positive.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So do you think you got it at camp? No, but seriously, like
I got it in the Hamptons because my mom had a pop-up Pilates studio and I was helping her with it.
So you can make it's your mom's fault.
Oh yeah, she's always like, I feel horrible, I gave you Lyme disease. I'm like, honestly, I'm sure I would have had something eventually. I
bet you there's dozens of people listening to this right now with their skin crawling because they wonder if they have it. And the best thing you do is just get tested for it. But doctors aren't going to recommend a test because they're
You know what's a good test? I'm not sponsored. Vibrant test.
Okay.
It's not covered by insurance, but it's really good.
Okay. Vibrant. There it is. Sponsored by Vibrant. Okay, so what's the album called?
Oh, yeah.
And how was the process of recording it? Tell us all about that.
So my comedy special is called Prettiest Girl at the Special School, because I'm dyslexic. I filmed it last November at Old Man Hustle, and I don't know if you watch Just Like That. Do you watch that show?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe your listeners do. But it was on an episode of that where Che, the comic on it, that's dating Miranda, if you're familiar, that's where they filmed it.
Wait, is that Michael Che?
No, Che.
Oh, Che, okay.
From Sex and the City.
Oh,
the
gotcha.
Reboot.
Gotcha.
You got a lot of catching up.
Yeah, a lot. This is not clearly my niche here, but... So you filmed it at the same place?
Yeah, I filmed it there.
What was the process like? Did you self-fund it? Was it a long post-production? Like, what was that all like?
So I self-funded it. And like, I love it because my whole background is just like photos of my childhood. It's more like, it's stand-up, but it's really kind of one-woman showy. It's all like interconnected. And I talk about growing up with dyslexia and how that really affected me as an adult and going for the wrong guys and like dealing with Lyme disease and just, so I shot with, my friend shot it with me, who went to Emerson with me. Shout out Vinny. And then I edited it.
Nice. Was the editing process grueling, like watching yourself?
Oh yeah, I was like, am I even funny?
Because comedy's all about the surprise. So given that you shot it, or you wrote it, you performed it, you lose that element of like, oh yeah, this is good. Yeah. You always have to watch it through others' joy. Yeah,
I watch it. The only other person who saw like the different drafts of it was my boyfriend, who helped like put it all together for me and produced it.
So how was the overall process?
Well, first, the way I shot it, the joke structure, I actually changed it. So, like, the jokes that started midway, I put that all the way in the beginning, which the editing took, like, a really long time to do that.
And how does this, so how are you going to, because it's out, this is going to come out next week, so it'll be out. Where can people find it?
800 Pound Gorilla. On their YouTube channel.
Amazing. Yeah, they have a huge following.
Yeah.
So I want to know also, before I let you go, about TikTok, Instagram, how are you monetizing? Tell me about your career and all of that, because I always find it fascinating how comics are kind of doing their hustle.
I need your help monetizing.
I'll help you.
I need a private lesson with your wife, and we could talk about Lyme disease, and we can have our...
Yeah, you don't have a Patreon or anything?
I kind of started and then I stopped. I mean, I was getting some money on Instagram. I do a lot of branded deals. That's how I make like most of my money on social media.
Can I ask you what your biggest deal was?
Okay, let me think. Biggest deal.
We like numbers. It's always good.
No, I'm thinking of a number.
Instagram.
The one I did last year was maybe like, was that 10,000? Okay, one I did was super easy, and they wrote the whole thing and they edited it. That was for 5,000.
Nice. And that's for like one post?
One post.
That's amazing.
TikTok.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is your TikTok following's a little bigger than your Instagram?
That's 80,000, yeah.
And are you noticing that, like, which one is more profitable?
I think Instagram, I'm able to charge more, even though I have less followers, because I think brands are still like iffy about TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok to me seems a little inflated with the followers.
Yeah.
Just from like an audience perspective, where like who's actually there, and
Yeah.
But so that's big. So you think you had a $10,000?
I think it was 10,000.
What was your first?
I can't remember.
What was your first deal? You don't have to say the brand, but like, what was your first deal, and what was the feeling of being like, oh my gosh, they're paying me for this? Because we do so much that's unpaid that when the check comes in, you go, this almost feels like I'm stealing from them. I think
I did for a sheet company. It was like 6 years ago, and I just made like a funny sketch for them, and that was $1,600. But I was like, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had like 25,000 on Instagram followers.
People get into this world where you get these crazy multi-million subscriber accounts and they talk about it, but like on the blue collar, like mid-level niche following, the 5 to 6 figure following, to get paid at all is like really cool.
Yeah.
To be like, they followed you because they enjoyed your content. Right. Now brands trust that you're going to deliver. Right. That's not just some posting a cute photo and getting a follower. Like it's a hustle to do it.
And I always ask brands, I'm like, oh, where did you find me? What video was it? Because I just want to know like what brands are kind of looking at. And I think even though I don't have hundreds of thousands, I think because I have red hair and I comedy, I do stand-up and sketches, I think it all kind of like comes together, because I have a lot of friends that have a bigger following but just post stand-up, but don't really get branded deals because they're not posting like their other skill set, you know?
Yeah, doing like stand-up, posting your stand-up in the short form world, it's like you're watching it through the glass. Like as an audience, you're watching a performance that happened, versus like doing a sketch or talking directly to the camera is way more personal. So what I've noticed is my audience on YouTube, where I'm talking directly to camera, has skyrocketed, and my other stuff hasn't. Right. And like that's okay. That just shows that by talking directly to people online, you're building this like connection that I think other accounts don't have. I think so, yeah. But I think the stand-up clips do help with people like wanting to see you do stand-up. Like I went to Palm Springs, 2 days ago, and these two guys, they were so sweet. They were the two gay guys, both named Corey. And they're like, oh, we saw you on TikTok. Oh, they recognized you?
Yeah, no, they were like, I came to the show because I heard.
Oh,
Like,
where was the show? Was it at the casino?
Yeah, it was at the casino.
Oh, nice. Not Morongo. Whatever the
Something
casino.
with a C.
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic.
How was that room? It looks like a nice little theater.
Yeah, it was good. It
Did
was
you headline?
like, yeah, I headlined.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it was fun. Yeah.
And you just got back this morning?
Yeah, this morning.
I was there early July, and it was like 1,000 degrees the week we were there.
Oh, wow.
But I saw there was another comedian. I can't remember. Oh, it was Nikki Bon was headlining there. And I was commuting. I was staying in Palm Springs, commuting back to LA for a show. And I was like, I would have preferred to be performing in Palm Springs right now. Well, that's fantastic. I agree. Getting your audience, and this is a struggle, not necessarily a struggle, but I'm facing. I just did Seattle and I sold like 70 something tickets.
That's great.
We sold VIP tickets and, posters and like, I was like, no one wants to buy this shit. And they did. And I was like, oh, okay.
I think it's about like it's like being delusional and being like, fuck it, people are going to buy my merch. But it's so hard to like feel that way sometimes about yourself.
I knew I printed 15 posters and I didn't sell all of them, and I was like, I'm just going to throw the rest out. It's like when you go to Disneyland, and they print your thing whether you buy it or not.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to have them ready because it's cheap to print, and if people buy them, great. People bought koozies, I have these little koozies, spilled tea, not beer. Just like stupid. My content's all like spilling tea, so it's one of those things. But yeah, it's about how do I get my audience that doesn't follow me from stand-up to want to come, and not everyone's going to be a stand-up fan because my audience isn't built on stand-up.
Yeah.
So it's like just being okay knowing not everyone's going to come to a show, but those that do might bring their friends.
Right.
They might come back next year.
I think one person is actually equal to like 3 people because no one is actually going to go alone to a stand-up show.
Yep. And then you try to get them to follow you, and it's just about getting out there. And we're in a time with comedy where the sort of like featuring for someone else is kind of dead.
No,
and you kind of have to go from, I always say, like intern to CEO.
Right.
You kind of got to go from working it out to just doing it all yourself.
You know who I think does it really well? Heather McDonald.
Oh yeah.
I like love her.
Tasha loves her too.
I listen to her podcast. I think she's so funny. And
I asked her to do this.
You did?
But then her assistant said, we'll have you do her show instead. And I was
great.
like, yeah, that's great, because we share a huge following.
Yeah.
Because she does same pop culture news and stuff.
Right. Well, tell her I said hi, even though she doesn't know who I am. But I think she does it really well because she always sells out her stand-up and her live shows, and she's got her podcast. I don't know, and I think she like also, even though she's had industry success, she just was like, I'm not going to wait for industry, and she like now built this whole thing.
Yeah, an industry that wants to throw you out when you're 30. They always want the new fresh thing. The only way to really build your following is to like have them be like in your newsletter.
Yeah.
Have them be in your all the different social medias. Having them. I saw that you have people can go to your. I think on your bio of your Instagram, which I'll post below, you've got your website, your merch, your Beacon, whatever that's called. How do you like that app?
Oh, it's good. I like it. It's like Linktree.
Yeah, and people can like type in where they live, so to see if you'll go into their town.
Did I do that?
I saw it.
I do?
Yeah, you say come find me.
Oh, I did that on my website. I say, let me know if you want to get notified when I'll be in your city, and then people can put their email.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Just started doing that.
Yeah. You don't even know what you're doing, but
am I doing it in my sleep? I don't know.
So I got to know a little bit about your camp culture. And you felt hot starting at 20, which is good. That's when I felt hot, when I started combing my hair back and got rid of my bangs.
Right.
I was like, I had a shitty haircut. I just had a bad haircut. Did I leave anything on the table here that we want to talk about?
No, I mean, we talked dyslexia, we talked Lyme, we talked summer camp, we talked Jewish people. Sorry, guys, I can't.
You know what's so funny is the only other time we really talked was at Hollywood Improv.
Yeah.
And I just started talking your ear off, and I was like, what am I even doing? I was just literally bothering you. But I'm always self-aware of comics bothering other comics, or even men bothering women. No, I think I'm a little disarming now that I'm married. I think
honestly, I just thought you looked normal. I just was like, oh, who's this? He seems really. You seem like just like a cool bro.
Okay, I'll take that.
I don't know. I was like, oh, he seems like normal in comedy.
Well, maybe that's not good for comedy.
No, that is good. No, that is good because it makes people want to talk to you.
Well, let's get my audience to go watch your special. What's it called?
Prettiest Girl at the Special School.
And congrats on that.
Thank you.
I appreciate you
so fun.
doing the show. You lived your dream.
I mean, this is the best. I feel like VIP.
Let's go out and take a selfie, okay?
Okay, yeah. Let's
Sweet.
It was so quick. Wait.
Yeah, we were like in the 40s or something.